Would love to have a couple of words. Does anybody know Justin from Hamilton? Freedom! Here he is, folks. Give him a hand.
Thank you, brother. Hello, everyone. My name is Justin. I'm an activist and a volunteer for the Hamilton Hugs Over Masks group. Thank you for coming out today to support Canadian freedoms. It's a great turnout today. We got a beautiful day. There is a specific term used to describe what the government has been doing to the people, and it is called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It is a mental health problem in which a caregiver makes up or causes an illness or injury in a person under his or her care, such as a child, an elderly adult, or a person who has a disability, or in this case, the people they are supposed to govern. Fear makes you vulnerable, and because vulnerable people are victims, Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a form of abuse. If you were in a relationship where your significant other has demanded you cover your face when outside in public and only let you leave your house for essential needs, won't allow you to work, tracked your every movement constantly, threatened you with financial penalties or confinement in a cage if you disobeyed, would that not be considered abuse? So why is it any different when the government does it? The truth is, we are in a relationship with the government. It is a very bad and toxic relationship, mind you, but it is a relationship all the same. We as citizens are considered wards of the state, meaning they believe we are not mentally capable of governing ourselves. In fact, the very root for the word government in Latin comes from the meaning to control the mind. The best tactic to use when trying to usurp control from people is to keep them in fear. This is akin to an abusive partner threatening violence on someone when they are not being obeyed. This is also the reason why the news is constantly pushing the narrative of rising case numbers. Notice how they don't speak about the mortality or the survival rate being above 99.9%? It is because they want us afraid, because fear makes it easier to manipulate people. We are governed by consent, meaning that the government derives their authority from we the people. You cannot legislate a right to someone that you do not already have. I do not have the right to demand any of these abusive, tyrannical lockdown measures on any other person, so either does the government. Our government officials have one job, and one job only, and that is to protect the rights of the people. Our rights cannot be taken away, but they can be forfeited through ignorance. An intelligent person is unfit to be a slave, and since it is servitude and obedience the government seeks from us, they must use fear to manipulate the masses, and they are doing a damn good job at it so far. We are victims of an abusive, toxic relationship, and the worst part of it is the majority of people aren't even aware of this. This can be described as Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is commonly linked to high-profile kidnappings and hostage situations. Aside from famous crime cases, regular people may also develop this psychological condition in response to various types of trauma. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological response. It occurs when hostages or abuse victims bond with their captors or abusers. This psychological connection develops over the course of days, weeks, months, or even years of captivity or abuse. With this syndrome, hostages or abuse victims may come to sympathize with their captives. This is the opposite of the fear, terror, and disdain that might be expected from the victims in these situations. Over the course of time, some victims do come to develop positive feelings towards their captors. They may even begin to feel as if they share common goals and causes. The victim may begin to develop negative feelings towards the police or authorities and beyond the captor's side. They may resent anyone who may be trying to help them escape from the dangerous situation they're in. The very people we are trying to save from tyranny will hate us for it, and in some cases attack us for it. Just earlier today, I was at a bakery, and the owner of this bakery was a very polite gentleman, and he honored our exemption. We told him we were exempt from having to wear the mask, and he honored that. He was a great guy. There was a lady in that store, we'll just call her Karen, who literally wished us to die and go to hell for not wearing a mask. And then when we got out of the bakery, she said she was calling the cops on us, which is why we were late today, because we waited around for her to realize cops aren't going to come over that. But this is an example of the hatred that we face just for trying to speak truth. The reason for this, it is much easier to fool a person than it is to convince a person that they have been fooled. There was a psychological experiment done by the KGB in the 60s. They learned that if you bombard human subjects with fearful messages non-stop, then within a couple of months or less, most of the subjects are completely brainwashed to believe the false messages, to the point that no amount of clear factual information they are shown to the contrary can change their mind. Liberal MP Catherine McKenna was once caught on video making the statement that if you tell a lie and keep repeating it, then the people will eventually believe it. This is almost an exact quote verbatim to what the Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels has stated. Maybe her Nazi grandfather taught her this. Well, my grandfather taught me a few statements as well. One of those statements was, if someone calls you a horse, you better correct them before they throw a saddle on you. In other words, silence is acquiescence, meaning if you don't speak out against something, then it can be assumed that you agree with it. It is no coincidence that the countries who have had massive protests and spoke out against these lockdown measures are no longer under lockdown. And the countries that haven't risen up in united non-compliance, such as Australia, are facing harsher lockdown measures. And it's coming here to Canada. Montreal just announced that they can go into your house without a warrant to make sure that you don't have company over, only people from your household. That's a good way for people to get shot. Sorry.
Speak the truth! Spider-Man! Everybody get your hands up for Spider-Man!
I'll cut this short, I'll make it quick. You may choose not to take an interest in politics, but I can assure you politics has taken an interest in you. Thank you for your time. You're all wonderful people. And remember, the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Hey, guys, George has a quick